Reading 3, Sparta and Athens. Reading on page 192. Sparta and Athens were the most famous Greek city-states. We know about these two city-states because many documents and artifacts from the two have been preserved. We know, for example, that daily life in these two powerful city-states was very different. Sparta, city of soldiers. In 700 BC, Sparta controlled much of the southern Peloponnese and was Greece's largest city-state. This polis controlled dozens of villages in its region. Sparta's central city was a cluster of villages about 30 miles inland from the Mediterranean Sea. Nearby, a small mountain formed Sparta's Acropolis. At its base was the Spartan Agora, where Sparta's leaders made the decisions that shaped lives in this polis. As in other ancient Greek city-states, farmers gathered at Sparta's Agora to do business. Most Spartan farm workers, however, were helots. Helots could not leave the land they worked, and they had to pay half of their yearly crops to their Spartan conquerors as taxes. They were only a little better off than slaves. Strengthening Sparta. There were many more helots than Spartans. Around 600 BC, the helots revolted. The Spartans finally put down the revolt, but Sparta's leaders decided to make Sparta the largest military power in Greece. This would prevent helots or any enemy from other city-states from conquering Sparta. The Spartan people were determined to make their polis strong. At about age 7, boys and girls began training to defend their city. Although boys were taught to read and write, they spent much more time training to be soldiers. Girls also practiced running, throwing, spears, and playing ball games. Spartan girls could not be soldiers, but they trained to be strong mothers of strong children. Duty to Sparta was considered more important than art or individual freedom. Athens, city of the people. Athens lay on the peninsula of Attica, northeast of Sparta. Athenian life was very different from life in Sparta. Athenian girls did not practice sports. They stayed at home, where they performed household tasks and learned to weave cloth from sheep's wool. Most Athenian boys could not afford to attend school. They worked with their fathers as farmers, potters, or stone workers. Wealthy parents sent their sons to school to learn to read and write. After classes, these students went to the gymnasium to learn to wrestle or box. Athenian government. Most of Athens' early leaders belonged to rich and powerful families. The poorer Athenian citizens began to demand a voice in their government. Eventually, the Athenian oligarchy was forced to share its power. The new government of Athens was called a democracy. The word democracy combines two Greek words and means rule by the people. In a democracy, every citizen is allowed to vote on government issues. There were large meetings to discuss and vote upon important decisions. The beginnings of democracy marked an important moment in world history. Some historians, in fact, trace our own ideas of democracy to ancient Greece.